Hello, I am Xarkun and this is World of Warships Legends. Today, I've got a pretty good game for you in the legendary tier British light cruiser HMS Minotaur. This is a highlight from my stream yesterday on Sunday, the subscriber special stream that I decided to do for reaching 5,000 subscribers. And of course, I do enjoy doing those subscriber streams where I can now division with people on the Xbox and the PlayStation. And sometime during the month of March, I will be doing another one of these streams. So if you want a division with me, keep on the lookout for that. I don't know exactly when in March it will be, but it will be on one of the weekends in March because I will have every weekend off in March thanks to my new job. Now, with that little bit of housekeeping out of the way, I think I just want to walk you through the play-by-play of this game because I think I played it actually quite well, and I suspect that a number of people may struggle with the Minotaur, given that it is a very squishy ship and a rather high skill floor ship, but at the same time, it was fairly easily accessible due to the fact that it was a campaign ship, and thus a lot of players who might not have experience with light cruisers probably obtained this ship and may be struggling with it. So, one thing to keep note of in the Minotaur is that, it's insanely vulnerable. Take note of that enemy Minotaur out there, who continues to sail broadside in a straight line, and as a result is taking citadel after citadel after citadel. 9 citadels, in fact, to the tune of 51,000 damage, which is basically all of his hit points. Although, actually, I think we got some damage on one of those battleships out there, so that explains why that Minotaur is not yet dead. He's smoked up, though, and note his position where he is smoked up versus my position where I have smoked up. He's got a friendly Alaska, my division mate, I believe that's Targaryen, approaching, and it appears that Targaryen has spotted the Minotaur or radared him, or he's come out of his smoke. I'm not sure what happened. Either way, he's quite vulnerable. So when you're placing your smoke in the Minotaur, you do want to be sure that you're putting it in a place where you are covered in such a way that it's not only the smoke that's protecting you. You see, I've got these islands all around me, and that's helpful. Also, you want to be moving around in your smoke and not sitting stationary. You certainly don't want to be sailing in straight lines if you are spotted. You want to try to keep yourself as concealed as possible and make yourself the least attractive target to the enemies. This is not a ship that you want to get shot at in, and in fact, you see our smoke screen is about 30 seconds away from dissipating, and we see that Richelieu is approaching. We don't know whether he's going to come around that corner inside of that alpha cap, but if he does, and we're caught there 8 kilometers away from him, that is a recipe for our demise, which is why we are now retreating. We are leaving our division mate in there, of course. He's sort of on his own as far as that goes. We send one spread of torpedoes down that way toward the Richelieu in case he does try to come around the corner, and there you can see the Richelieu is able to shoot at us over that island, which just further reinforces the point that we needed to get out of there, despite the fact that he shot high explosive and it was ineffective. And here we see the other enemy Minotaur behind that island. Doesn't seem like we can get shots on him given the island hit indicator on our reticle there, but apparently we can, and we can get some pretty lethal shots on that guy. I think that spells his demise. There he goes, second kill of the game, and in less than 5 minutes we're up to 100,000 damage. The Minotaur is a DPM machine, the likes of which very few ships rival in this game. The Worcester, also at the legendary tier, can give the Minotaur a run for its money in terms of DPM, but the Minotaur, it's just a smaller ship, it's more maneuverable, it's easier to get all of the guns on target, I feel like, than it is with the Worcester, and that makes all the difference in the world. That makes it much easier to pump out this DPM and realize it in actuality, rather than pining over it on paper, if you know what I mean. In any case, we're mostly focused on this cap here, the alpha side, for the entirety of this game. The Richelieu is still inside of it, contesting it. along with, actually nobody else is inside of it, but the Richelieu is on low health. He's trying to escape into cover behind that island, and he keeps going momentarily unspotted, but he's on such low health that we should be able to finish him off if we can just maintain some vision on him. The armor piercing on the Minotaur, by the way, is, I guess you could say, special in comparison to most of the cruiser armor piercing you're going to come across in this game, in the sense that it is, I believe, short fused and also has massively improved penetration angles, which often result in penetrations on the superstructure of any ship, regardless of the angle. This AP just seems to be able to penetrate superstructure no matter what, in most cases, much like high explosive can. So it's quite potent indeed. But the enemy team has flipped the Alpha Cap. We've got a smoke screen ready to be deployed at a moment's notice, and our team has captured Charlie. So 1 cap to 1 cap. You can see that the point situation favors our team heavily. We've sunk 3 enemy ships to them sinking 2 of ours. Of course, they've sunk our destroyer, which is a little bit of a problem and does give them an advantage in theory. But the Minotaur is a very stealthy cruiser with, again, a smoke screen. So sometimes it can perform destroyer-like functions in absence of any destroyer on your team. By that I mean we could probably get into this capture circle, smoke up, and take it. But the reason we're pulling back on that and hesitating is because there's an Iowa there in the previous place occupied by the Richelieu, who is a huge threat to us. The Iowa's guns can probably dev strike us, and there is a nasty hit on his broadside for 7k with a full salvo from this Minotaur. You can see just how scary this damage can be from this armor piercing. You do not want to give the Minotaur broadside no matter what ship you're in. Battleship, cruiser, destroyer, it does not matter. This thing will chew through your hit points like they don't even exist. And even when you're slightly angled, they're going to chew through your hit points. You thought that HE spam was terrifying and difficult to stand up against? Well, take a look at this AP spam. The Iowa is not enjoying it at all. We're up to nearly 160,000 damage, and our team has captured the center cap, so we don't actually need to play very aggressively here at all. The Iowa takes a blind shot at us in desperation, in fact, but misses, and we net the high caliber medal with that salvo on him. Vision is intermittent, but we are spotting him every now and then, trying to move up a little bit more to try to see if we can get our shells over that low part of the island. That's when Conqueror gets spotted. Looks like he's reversing right on the edge of our range, though, so shooting at him is not going to be too lucrative. What we need is for our teammates to continue spotting this Iowa. We're at 3 kills, by the way, and there are still 5 enemy ships left floating, so a Kraken is a very real possibility. Unfortunately, we do not get our 4th kill on that Iowa. It's yoinked from underneath us by one of our teammates, but that's fine. All that matters is that the enemy ships are going down and that our ships are maintaining a comfortable lead. But now the Alpha Cap is completely unoccupied and up for grabs, so hopefully we're going to be able to get into it and use these islands in lieu of our smokescreen to keep ourselves concealed from the Conqueror out there and potentially get some shots on him. We know there's a battleship and a cruiser north of Bravo, so that's something to keep in mind. We're looking over that direction to see if we can spot him just in case. You want to be paying attention to your minimap at all times when you're playing the Minotaur or any vulnerable light cruiser like this. Map awareness is the key here. You need to be aware of where all the threats could possibly be coming from because, again, you don't want to take any shots in this thing. This is not the cruiser that you want to bait enemies into shooting. Sometimes it can work out for you because it is a very lightly armored cruiser. In fact, you could argue it really has no armor, so maybe if a battleship shell goes through your bow, it will overpen. Who knows? But at the same time, if a battleship shell hits you in the center of the ship, the Citadel is massive and great at catching shells. Perfect for getting dev struck, so you really don't want to be taking any shots. The enemy is starting to flip the Charlie cap, so that sort of solidifies my decision to come in here and try to take the Alpha Cap, we're going to engage in a little bit of open water gunboating at this Conqueror, who we kind of think at this point might be AFK. He doesn't seem to have moved from this position much at all, and he's just sort of sitting there bow tanking this sector of the map for reasons unknown to me, because it doesn't really seem like there are any enemy ships, or rather any friendly ships out in front of him. But of course, he is not AFK. In fact, he is very much still playing, and he shoots at us with his high explosive, which is a little bit of a problem because it is very effective high explosive. But at the same time, the enemy has lost another ship, and it is now 3 versus 5, so we do have a comfortable lead. Doesn't seem like, unless anything goes terribly, terribly wrong, we are going to lose this game, so we can afford to be a little bit riskier now than we were in the beginning of the game. This kind of thing right here that I'm doing with the Conqueror, this is inviting destruction upon myself. I'm fully aware of that, but at this point I don't think if we go down, the game will be thrown. It's possible. We are still trying to play as defensively as possible, still angling against the Conqueror, even though he shot high explosive at us, and we were waiting for our smoke screen to come off of cooldown, which it does. So we deploy that smoke screen, and we're going to now try to reverse into the cap. No vision on the Conqueror, but that torpedo spread was hopefully good enough to take him out, and it was. And then we notice on our map that the Roma is about to come around the corner very, very close to our smoke screen. So now the smoke screen is much less usable. This is something you don't want to do, which is wait inside of a smoke screen for a battleship to push right into it, especially if you've just launched all your torpedoes. Although in retrospect, we do have torpedoes on the other side of the ship, so we might have been able to wait for this Roma. But you can see we're on 4 kills now and over 200,000 damage. So at this point, with 2 ships left alive on the enemy team versus 5 enemy ships, we are getting very greedy, and we really want that Kraken. The problem is the Roma is a very heavily armored battleship, much like the Russians and the Germans, and there's not a lot of superstructure for us to farm, so we're not getting a lot of good damage, and the Roma can sometimes be a powerhouse. It basically dev strikes us there and takes us out as we reach 206,000 damage done, and we don't quite get the Kraken. One of our teammates, perhaps a division mate, finishes off that Roma for us, and that just leaves the final remaining enemy destroyer to contend with. So this game is basically in the bag. But a very honestly casual 200k in the Minotaur. Like I said, this ship is a DPM machine, and it's all about staying alive in this ship. I think a lot of cruiser players get too aggressive right at the start. Case in point, the 2 Minotaurs on the enemy team. You really need to think about your positioning and about how you are spotted or not spotted. You need to consider where and when you deploy your smoke screens so you can get the most out of them. Otherwise, you're liable to struggle with the ship and die very quickly. It is a rather high skill floor or high skill ceiling. I don't know what the term is. It takes a bit of skill to do well in this ship in comparison to certain other campaign ships that we've gotten in the past, which are much easier and more accessible to play. So if you're struggling with the Minotaur, I do recommend that you take a step back, be a little bit more patient in your gameplay. And also, if you haven't ground the British light cruiser line from the Emerald at Tier 4 all the way to the Edinburgh at Tier 7, you might consider doing that, because those will teach you how to play the Minotaur. They'll get you very familiar with how squishy these British light cruisers are. But as squishy as they are potent. As you can see, 3,000 base XP on that game, which I think is a fantastic result. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.